very special about media. A guy who knows a lot about it. Ernest Hancock will be moderating. We can welcome back. Actually, it's the first time he's spoken here at Anarchapulco. He had spoken to us at the Dollar Vigilante Conference a few days ago. The great G. Edward Griffin. Yeah. Revered, rightly so, figure. Derrick Broze is going to come back for us here. Carrie Wedler. And Carrie Wedler of Antimedia. Am I right about that, Carrie? She can't hear me. I think she's with Antimedia. And Josh Sergenson. How did I do? Yeah, okay. All right, y'all ready? Okay, let's go. It's an all-star panel. Let's welcome them.
Good morning. While they get up, I'm going to tell you, first thing, you guys got to turn me down, man. I'm so loud. Because I don't really need it. My name is Ernest Hancock, and I'm publisher of freedomsphoenix.com. I'm also the talk show host, Declare Your Independence with Ernest Hancock, which I've been doing, thank you, I've been doing since '03. So before broadband, before it started, '05, I go, when video hits the internet, we're going to start doing Freedom's Phoenix. We had the concept in '96. When YouTube started, we go, here we go, because I knew what it was going to do is to give people like what we have up here an equal playing field on the landscape of information. And it wasn't going to be infotainment, it was going to be information. So what I wanted to do is give a little bit of bio on each one of them, because we're limited time and each one of these people could go hours. The issue is censorship, deplatforming, not having a voice. The more effective your voice is, the quicker they want to take it away. Well, I see it as two things. One, that's all about the crowd. They, them, those. Or those that just want to be left alone, or those that just won't leave you alone. You want to know who they are? That's who they are, okay? So we belay that order. Belay the state. This whole thing is about us being informed about what the truth is. The Crown wants to, they seize all your data and then deny you access. Hey, Mr. NSA man, I forgot, I lost my email. Can I have that one? Nope. But they got everything. So you have privacy and immutability. If you're looking to work with other pirates, freedom advocates, you want to be kept private, and it might be to put something, information up that they don't want you to have up and it be there forever. There's two things here. There's the privacy part, and then you want it up forever part. They want to know everything you're thinking and doing, and nobody else to. That's what's going on. So these people represent the information that they want there available to everybody all the time, forever. We want to help. At Pirates, we're doing interplanetary file sharing, IPFS servers. Come talk to any of you guys who are interested in that. We just turned it off on last Wednesday, and all these guys are welcome. Come on forever, and it never, ever go away. That's why we set it up for these guys. Now, G. Edward Griffin, born in '31, I'm born '61. These guys are born later, so I'm kind of the bridge between, okay? What I understood when I was becoming an activist in the late '80s, G. Edward Griffin. Now I remember there's YouTubes now of him giving talks about a lot of the stuff that we've been talking about now, and he's the only one, and it's a video of him like, Leave It to Beaver, June Cleaver's house of black and white and, Dick Van Dyke show kind of thing. And he's sitting there talking and saying the same stuff he's been saying forever. Author of The Creature from Jekyll Island. But what you guys don't know is back in '64, there was a movie called Fearful Masters about the United Nations in '64. You think they didn't want to ban him? You feel me? 9/11 truth. What in the world are they spraying? Atmospheric modification. You're crazy right up until you're not. So then we have Jason Bassler, He's a co-founder of Free Thought Project. You go to freedomsphoenix.com. We have a lot of your stuff there. You know, is Jason up here? No, he's not even here. That's too bad, too, because we use a lot of his stuff. Derrick Broze, holistic activist. I've known Derrick for a long time. The conscious resistance, which empowers, you know, the individual becomes self-aware and educated, and through that, as an individual, you change your community. Hell no, you got to get off the internet. You're changing the hearts and minds. You're not allowed. Dan Dix, Press for Truth, same thing. Dan Dix comes up. He does Press for Truth. His first documentary was in 2008, The Nation's Deathbed. Were you talking about Canada or the U.S.? We're both screwed. We're all screwed. Or are we? This atmosphere is what has created the solution, the information. And what G. Edward, I'll have him start off here in a little bit, is it's the same people doing the same thing for the same reasons, but we need to use this medium in such a way that they can't take it. There's so much new tech coming I'm really excited about. Josh Sigurdson, World Alternative Media. I first knew about him as outing of Trudeau. You know, here you got the leader of Canada, whatever, the head, functionary of. Guy comes out, outs him, dogs him all around, does the Luke Radowski, Dan Dix thing, and all of a sudden, woo, we got this guy and you're banned. All of these people have had enormous impact on all of us, which is what makes them targets, why they're being deplatformed, why they're being defunded. We have to support them and come up with mechanisms by which we make sure we have our representatives out there on the front lines to keep us informed. Now, one thing, Carrie Wedler, we remember her during the 2008 campaign. It was the 2008 campaign, right? Or was it 12? 2008. Yeah, I remember, the Obama girl. Woohoo, man, I'm cute and pick me. Lots of traffic, and as soon as you stop drinking the Kool-Aid, as soon as you start saying something about, hey, this freedom thing, individual right thing, boom, you're gone. So we'll get information on that. And I asked G. Edward, with that introduction, to help me explain to the people what you see as the same type of thing that's going on that you experienced without, how you got your message out was in what way. Now you have the internet, and a lot of these people learned of you at the same time they learned of these young guys. So now it's got to be deplatformed, shut up, and you're not allowed. What do you think the solution is?
This is on? Oh, that's better. Well, yeah, thanks for that broad opening. I can talk about just about anything, what I think about things, but what do I know? I do know that censorship is not new, It existed long before I showed up on this planet. I was looking back on history. Every time you go into a topic, you got to see, where did it start? You'd be surprised how often it starts back with Adam and Eve. The first family argument that had contained all the elements of what we face today in a more complex way. And censorship is one of those things. I discovered later in life that if you want to know who's running the show, figure out who you cannot criticize. If you can figure out who the person is or the group of people that you are not allowed to criticize, you know they're in charge. And then there's another axiom that sort of crosses my mind now and then, that is that only lies need coercion. Only lies need the force of law or just the force of a fist or any kind of coercion, violence to silence the opposition. Because the truth always prevails if it's given a free voice and a free chance to explain itself. In time, truth always wins. So the only way you can beat out truth is to silence it. So when somebody is advocating the use of coercion to prevent a point of view from being spoken, and that point of view is contrary to something else, you know immediately that the contrary point of view is a lie. I can't think of a better example of these people today who say that we must not allow people to speak up against man-made global warming. That's a proven fact. You cannot disagree with it. You cannot say anything against it. You cannot offer any evidence because you're a criminal if you do that. There ought to be a law to prevent you from questioning the theory of global warming. Well, you know immediately, therefore, that that theory is a lie. You don't have to even study it. Because in history, only those things which are lies have to rely on coercion to defend them. Truth always prevails, and it doesn't need any coercion to defend it. Now, of course, you can't just stop with that. You have to look at the facts also, but you have a pretty good clue what you're dealing with. And what I'm saying now is what we're dealing with in spades today on the internet and in the other forms of the media, but it goes way, way, way back. I wouldn't be surprised even if on Noah's Ark there were certain things you weren't allowed to say, like we're lost. So anyway, that's all I want to observe, is that nothing really has changed. I think as long as human nature remains, as long as we are allowed to remain humans, if they don't transform our genetic code so that something else evolves somewhere down the line, as long as we remain human beings, there will be a tendency for the defenders of lies to want to use coercion. And I think it's as simple as that. So if you deal with the generalities instead of the specifics are horrible. But there's always some liar who can make his point of view sound reasonable if you're not allowed to question it and point out the flaws in his argument. I think it's as simple as that, and I'll just leave it for that.
Thank you, J. Edward. I want to go to Derrick Broze on this point. Derrick, you've taken the tack that improve yourself and you improve your community. It starts with you. That seems, we know it's powerful, but does the man? And it seems like they might because, they're, not wanting you promoted. They're not, helping you with the traffic. They're not helping these, platforming and, hitting on you and defunding. So I'm going, why, for someone coming from your circumstance and advocating for this, and advocating for this realization of the power of the individual, do you think that's a weapon that they're afraid of? Explain what you think your threat is to the man.
Sure. So I think, as G. Edward was saying, any sort of truths are going to be a threat to the state or the people in power. And absolutely they're afraid of individuals here, individuals on the stage, all of us within these various movements, of maybe spending less time going down the rabbit holes and more time working on ourselves, because, it's easy to throw out a bunch of red herrings or psyops, QAnon, and things like that to get people spinning their wheels and just wasting time or waiting for a savior to come fix things and save the day. It's easy to do that, and you have people just arguing online over rabbit holes, over which theory is right and this and that, while they ignore their own traumas and their own self like that. So I definitely think healing, emotional empowerment, spiritual empowerment, and generally just, critical thinking skills are a threat to the state as well. And yeah, I think that's something that more people should focus on. And I just want to say that I spend quite a bit of time studying YouTube and studying YouTube channels and trying to understand how to reach more people, right? Because everybody here has come or been brought by a friend because you're already aware of a lot of these issues, right? And to some degree, we're preaching to the choir. There's some things you might be learning, but to some degree, we are definitely preaching to the choir. And so I try to constantly think about how to reach new people. So I speak at events where I know people are probably going to disagree with me, and I study what are the biggest YouTube channels, what are people paying attention to. The largest YouTube channels are makeup tutorials, people playing video games, and celebrity, stuff, talking about celebrities. Every now and then you'll see, like I did a 5G video, got 500,000 views. Like that was kind of unusual for a city council video to go that far, right? But every day, some chick sitting in front of her camera talking about all the makeup she just bought from Ulta is getting 1 million views. And I don't know, I think it really points to maybe the fact that those types of channels and that type of content are promoted, but also, I don't know, I think maybe it's something going on within each of us, that we all like distractions, we like drama. For some reason, people are compelled to look at drama. You watch a car crash, you pay more attention to a video of somebody confronting a politician than somebody building a garden. I've tried to figure that out, and I don't know, I guess I'm posing that question to you guys, why why are we drawn to the bullshit and less to the truth and the empowerment? Maybe it's something we all should think about in the role that we play in this, right? Because we are being censored, but at the same time, we each have websites and ways to reach us. So maybe the problem is we're letting them dictate the conversation by being dependent on social media instead of finding other ways to connect with each other and face-to-face, email lists, text lists, whatever. There's all kinds of ways. So if we're just thinking that because we're being censored on social media, that's it, I think we're failing ourselves.
Thank you, Derrick. I want to go to Carrie next. We'll get to the Canucks in a second. The one thing that when you say, we have our own web pages, we got our own Crown-approved DNS number you can find and go through in the DARPA, the Internet of the Mans, whatever, and go, they wouldn't take that down, would they? That'd be wrong. I'm here to tell you, of course they are. And if you're not prepping for that eventuality, you think those are going to do something because they got some moral hurdle they can't get over, you have not been paying attention, in my opinion. What I want to ask you, Carrie Wedler, Obama girl, I am certain that you have experienced in your 15 minutes and 15 months of fame, whatever it was, okay, as you shoot up, you're supported, then you're not. What's your experience? Share with the audience how that happens.
Hi. Is this working? Can you guys hear me? Okay. I got in last night at like midnight. Okay. So I made this video where I blowtorched an Obama shirt. If you know who I am, it's probably because of that. And I did receive a substantial following from that one video, which is crazy. And what I found, and this isn't quite about censorship, but it does speak to statism, is that when Donald Trump came on the scene, I lost a lot of support because the people who liked that video and were all down to hear me criticize wars and criticize the government then changed their mind when they realized I wasn't jumping on the Trump train. So I think that is a factor in all of this, and especially for tolerance of censorship, and this comes from the left as well. But also working with the anti-media, we were reaching millions of people every single week. And after the election, this is coming from the establishment left, I presume, we started losing reach because we had been very hard on Hillary Clinton in addition to Donald Trump. So there's this partisanship element. And when it comes down to it, we were removed. Jason was also removed on October 11th. Some of you have probably heard of it. The anti-media was removed from Facebook, the Free Thought Project, Police the Police, a page called Hemp, Rachel Blevins, she's another journalist. We were all just taken down, unpublished. And we've not heard back on our appeals. It's been 3 or 4 months. And later in the day, which I think shows some level of coordination, we were removed from Twitter as well. And I was personally suspended from Twitter. I've never violated a Twitter rule. I barely even use Twitter. I don't even like Twitter. We're still removed permanently. And what I really want to say while I'm up here is that I think there's been a dichotomy emerging of thought where people say that the only reason we're removed is because we're challenging the establishment. And I agree. I think that that is very true. We know, if you're not aware, the Atlantic Council is now working with Facebook. They're pretty much just a board of like ex-CIA, ex-military, all the powerful people. Facebook made a huge donation to them. Raytheon, all these huge, powerful crony capitalists are part of that establishment. There's the National Institute for Democracy that's chaired by Madeleine Albright. They're advising Twitter on how to keep these platforms safe for democracy. So there is a lot of influence that we should be extremely skeptical of. But I think it's also really important we need to acknowledge and address and resolve the issue that there are a lot of problems in independent media. And if we don't solve them, if we don't start really becoming more responsible, if we don't stop making claims like, the only reason is that we're the heroes and we're fighting back, that's not the only reason. It might be a main driver. I totally agree. We don't have the hard evidence to prove it. We have all of the corroborating evidence. But what's also important is that when we're I don't want to say we, but I've made my own mistakes. When people are putting out sensational, often, I don't want to say fake, but often misleading news, this creates a justification for people to accept this. So if we're really challenging the establishment, if we're really challenging the media, we need to be better. We need to actually provide a credible alternative, or else when people see us getting removed, they're going to celebrate it, and they absolutely did celebrate it. There were people on Twitter who were mocking us. I don't know if you guys heard of Prop or not. They're like an anonymous organization. Washington Post did a hit piece on outlets like the Anti-Media, on the Free Thought Project back in 2016 after the election when the fake news narrative really picked up. They were celebrating, calling us Russian shills when we got removed, which isn't the case. I've never worked for Russia. I've never been to Russia. I don't know. I don't support the Russian government, but it's very easy to lump us into these bad actor groups when we're not doing the best we can to really provide what amounts to a market alternative to horrible journalism in the mainstream.
Thank you. Yeah, let's go ahead and go to Josh. Who has the micro? Yeah, go ahead and give it to Josh Segerson. World Alternative Media. Banned. You got the wrong title, man. You can't be alternative media. You tell the people about your experience, what shot you to meteoric fame, and how that's affected you and what they're doing to you now. And just since in the last couple of months, I mean, you started, 100,000, got to hit that 100,000 subscribers to YouTube. Oh, hell no, you're so not allowed. Tell the people the story.
Well, apparently the Prime Minister of Canada doesn't like being called a scumbag, so that's an issue. I went to a press conference, and they gave me 5 questions, his press corps, to ask him. I didn't want to ask that. I asked him a different question in between other questions. I kind of interrupted him. Security attacked me, choked me, all that kind of stuff, and I called him a scumbag. But, this is a really important point to make, is that mainstream medias are dying. I mean, look at the ratings that they had 25 years ago compared to today. It's unbelievable how little viewership they have. And the bread and circuses are dying. And that's where the desperation comes from, because you look and you see people like PewDiePie on YouTube getting more viewers than all these mainstream medias combined. I mean, the bread and circuses are dying. We're seeing the ratings die for the mainstream media, the Hollywood movies, NFL, all the sports. And, I mean, that means that they're going to be desperate. They're going to do what they can to shut us down, because we are the future of independent or of media. While the mainstream medias get millions of dollars, many of us just sit in our home in like our living room or in our bedroom making videos, and we're getting more views than them. I mean, it's obvious why they're doing it. They want to shut us down, and it's not just demonetization anymore. It's shadow banning. What we're seeing is age restrictions on videos where there's solutions, but the fear-mongering videos, they, are allowed to catch on because there aren't solutions. For example, you can put up a video saying, Donald Trump is terrible or Hillary Clinton's terrible, and in a lot of ways you'll see it get monetized, you'll see it reach a whole bunch of people. But if I do a video with Lynn Albrecht, for example, saying we need to free Ross, then it gets age restricted and shadow banned, and no one's allowed to see it, because 72% of the views on YouTube come from the side panel. And if they're stopped from going on that side panel, they're not going to probably be seen at all. Maybe you get lucky every now and then. YouTube changes their algorithm, and I think an average of 430 times a year. So it's a little bit difficult to learn every single day what you can do and what you can't do. But nonetheless, I think I'm quite optimistic about all of it. I think that we're seeing that shift away from mainstream media no matter what they try to do to stifle us. The issue is right now, we don't have the proper solutions yet. I mean, we have the beginnings of solutions, we have the development of solutions, but they're not there yet because we can't be speaking in an echo chamber. That's one good thing about YouTube, is that you are allowed sometimes to reach people outside of your paradigm. So you can do a video, and someone who's watching, video game playthroughs sees, oh, that looks interesting, I'm going to click on that, and they go down a rabbit hole, and next thing you know, they're attending the next Anarchapulco. You know what I mean? So I think that's really important. So I believe that we will succeed. We see the bread and circuses dying. The problem is we need to work on those solutions, make sure it's good for everyone, make sure it's not just an echo chamber for libertarians and anarchists. We need to make sure that we reach people that disagree with us. And it's not about money. There are other ways to make money. It's about being seen, getting that message out, telling your truth, and not being shut down, because it's a very strange thing, the difference between being demonetized and shadow banned. When you're demonetized, you can say to everyone, look, I'm being demonetized. You can see it. There's a yellow thing beside my video, and everyone can see it. It's obvious. With shadow banning, you just kind of sound like a crazy person to a lot of people. And it's kind of genius on YouTube's part, really, that they can shadow ban you, and you have to go and say, oh, yeah, they're stopping my video from being seen. And people are like, oh, all right, sure. That's what's going on. Maybe your video just kind of sucks. And that is a really good tactic. So I have to say the market has to provide an alternative, and the market has to provide a decentralized alternative. But I don't think we will be able to get it to the next level by saying it's blockchain or it's crypto, because the majority of the public won't understand. I think people will unwittingly adopt the alternatives, whether left or right, and that's, I think, the best way to go. Not promoting it as, some blockchain thing, but promoting it as it's just better than YouTube, and you have the free access to information, because after all, with Google and YouTube getting so much money in contracts from the government, they aren't really just a private corporation. They're a quasi-private monopoly of the government and a monopoly on information. And we got to create a better monopoly on the free market to replace it, and I think we will.
Thank you. Mr. Dan Dix. Oh, special place in my heart. Dan has been right on the front lines. There's a lot of videos that you just know they want gone. They just, no, hell no, we don't want to be talking about. If you want to know anything about anything, and Dan's been there, I always go and check, Luke, Dan, Josh. This is where I get my news if I want to know what's really going on the street. Well, there's a lot of dependency you have on these social media platforms. How they been treating you, Mr. Dan Dix?
I'm sorry, I missed that last part.
How they been treating you? Press for Truth.
Well,
his first documentary was back in '08. It was called, Both Our Nations Are Having Problems. He's done 9/11 stuff. He's on the street, all over the world. And I'm just going, you would think that you would get big corporate sponsors, that they would love the access that they have to this kind of information. Are you being treated well by the lamestream media, the media so last century?
No, not at all. In fact, I just learned something very interesting just 2 weeks ago about the YouTube algorithm. A funny little thing I'll fill you in on. 2 weeks ago, I noticed that my view counts have started to go up a little bit. And that's because I noticed that in my default tags, you can set up default tags. And I did that from the beginning of when you could do that. And I figured people are probably going to want to find my videos by searching my name, so I should probably have my name in the default tags. My last name is Dix. The algorithm seems to think that I was swearing or being inappropriate. The moment I removed my name from the algorithm, all of a sudden I started getting more views. These guys don't know what they're doing. That's clearly a big problem. So when it comes to the censorship, though, something I want to say, with Facebook, I woke up one day, 350,000 people on that page, gone. It just disappeared in the blink of an eye. And those people are people who were counting on getting information from me, and it was gone. And it felt like a blow, in the InfoWar, like they just took off one of my limbs. But the more I thought about it, I started to realize in this particular circumstance, it may be a blessing in disguise, because we know Facebook is a massive spying, tracking tool, tracking, databasing every single thing we do. And, I'm more of the global kind of non-compliance guy. I would rather than put any kind of restrictions on Facebook as a company. I'd rather just step back and remove myself and support these other platforms that do honor, that aren't censorship, that are censorship resistant, essentially. So that purge led me to all sorts of other things. BitTube, my BitChute started growing. My Steemit account jumped up to 10,000 followers. So a whole lot of positive things actually came out of that. And I guess I'm just left thinking, I think that was a little bit of a blessing in disguise to get off of that particular platform. And it's, as I said, led me to finding these other blockchain-based censorship-resistant platforms. And that's where I want to put my focus. So I don't think we should, say that we need an Internet Bill of Rights or anything like that to monitor these guys and make sure they treat us right. I think we should just say, I don't want to play along anymore. I don't like the way you guys are running this. I choose to take no more part in this, and I'm going to focus on the people who are pushing for guys like me. And so that's been my focus ever since getting purged from Facebook, is to look to these other alternative platforms, these blockchain-based platforms, and people who are interested in information that's not being censored. So there's a positive that you can take from everything. And so yeah, I guess that's the one good thing I suppose that came out of this purge on independent media. And hopefully others can learn from that and try to go on to platforms like yours that you're about to be launching. And that's the kind of stuff that we need to be promoting now.
Thank you. I want to take my opportunity to, a lot of you guys in the crypto space and IT, I came this year for this reason, to promote the solution to this. My kids hate when I do this. I go, I don't think I know. I know. But what do we know? We know that these voices are a threat to the very establishment that we've been highlighting for decades, generations. It's the same, a lot of times when the Bush administration, W. Bush, www.warmonger.com Bush, when he came in and all of a sudden Dick Cheney was going to be his VP, I'm going, holy crap, man. They just go to the back office and drag the guys up. This is Cheney and Rumsfeld. They were when I was in high school in the 70s. It's not the same kind of people. It's the same people. And it's over and over and over. And you know why? Because they can. You think it's more complicated than that. When cryptography came, we finally had an opportunity to witness they can't stop the signal. Just that concept is what's freaking. They'll co-opt some GoldmanSachs.gov coin or something. Here it comes. So what is it that we're doing? We do Pirates Without Borders. I got some books I'll put up here right after, and anybody see, I'll make sure you get them. We've been passing out some stuff. Decentralization of everything, especially information. If it wasn't for the internet, you probably wouldn't have heard a lot about what G. Edward Griffin has been working on for decades, for generations. If it wasn't for the internet, there's a lot of us wouldn't be here. That's why they have to come after it. It's the ability for each of us to send ones and zeros. United Kingdom, you got to have a license you pay to watch television. Did you know that? A lot of you guys from the UK, you know that. You think they're not going to come up with a ones and zero button of a fee if it's a DARPA's internet? This is U.S. military of you're not allowed? How are you going to store how's it going to be accessed? Where are you going to post? There are solutions. That's what we're working on. The thing that I'm hoping that you'll get from this is that what we've seen in the last couple of years, we anticipated years ago, and I've been screaming it for years. We went dark on all our social media. I have 60 accounts on 20 platforms, Pirates Without Borders, the radio show, Freedom's Phoenix, Captain Mark, ourselves, and we just sat there and wait so that we can say, hey, everybody, we're back, we're here to let you know that we're over there. But there had to be an over there. And only now is there starting to be an over there. In the 90s, when websites first started getting going, Yahoo was just a couple of guys from college said, we're going to put up cool stuff. I think this is cool. This is cool. Let's put up cool stuff. Oh, you got some cool stuff? Fill out this thing, send us your cool stuff, and we'll put you on the list of cool. Okay, cool. Let's do that. That's how it started. Then the algorithms, the search engines, and weighting and consolidation of everything. In-Q-Tel, CIA investment crap. We knew it was coming, but we had to go through it. I have 4 children, my 12th grandchild on the way. You think I don't see 3-year-olds on their iPads? You think my kids, they're sitting there putting their entire life story, favorite music, favorite book, quote, color, pictures of friends and everything on MySpace? Rupert Murdoch of News Corp, Fox News, buys MySpace for, what was it, $380 million? And then it went away? And you go to Facebook, I'm going, why? For the data. For all your preferences, for all the marketing, for all in Amazon. Ernie, we know you want to watch this movie next, don't you? I can't, well, yeah, I kind of do. This is our life as it is now. CubeSats giving us mesh networking that we can bypass the ISP, Internet Service Providers. Cox and Verizon, they're all plugged in and prismed and kind of they know and permission slip if you're not allowed and now you're banned because you said something wrong. You think it's just going to be Facebook and Twitter and all this stuff they're going to do this? That's just a beginning. You have to be off their grid. And where do you store it? And how do you access it? Interplanetary file sharing. The videos are already done on DTube. Steemit's got part of this going on. So when we start screaming, hey, we're over there, we now have an over there. DNS numbers, your address is a number. freedomsphoenix.com is a number. Who controls that? I remember in the mid-90s, some guy got paid $135,000 that lived in, I don't know, California as a geek guy that did and got a heart attack. Go to Geneva, I think it was in Geneva or Brussels or something, they create ICANN. ICANN bring you down, that's what ICANN do. I started doing radio in 2003, the entire country of Libya went dark. Of course they are going to do this, and we have to be prepared for it. In the 90s, if we had the access to QR codes, to where we could just just to demonstrate it in like 12, we made a big point of, a lot of people in the freedom community had QR codes, and it went to their web pages, and we printed up thousands of these little vinyl stickers, and the ones that were the most popular, we had silly status, taxes are for slaves, and had a little rabbit with a QR code. And we put them in Phoenix, Arizona, on all the gas pumps. You put them in the bathroom stalls. You put them in the porta potties at the state fair. You put them everywhere where somebody's sitting down or doing gas pump for 3 minutes, I ain't got nothing else to do, click, and you go, silly status, taxes are for slaves. So when you're talking about how do you get to a wider audience, I'm the one that created the Ron Paul Levolution logo. How the hell you think you found out? Because it was on a freaking overpass. It bypassed the media. It was, I got a sign in your face, and when you take it down, I'm going to put another one up tomorrow. When we have somewhere to go, we will promote it, and it's going to happen, in my opinion. But we had to go through this phase of depending on somebody else funded by the man, the crown that seizes all our data, denies us access, and deletes the ones that they want to, doesn't serve their purpose. You think it's more complicated than that, and it's not. So I want to get a response from each of you guys on my rant there. The future either is or is not going to include any of these present social platforms. And what is the criteria that you believe is necessary for the next enormous amount of investment that you put where you load stuff, where you're going to be, how are you going to maintain your accessibility? Do you have hard drives backed up with a third copy of another country of on the what is something? I don't want your stuff to go away. How are you taking care of that, Derrick?
All right, we have less than 8 minutes left, so I'm going to say my closing things. But to answer that and to say the thing I want to make sure you guys hear, I downloaded all of my YouTube videos. I've downloaded my Google file. When I left Facebook, I downloaded my entire Facebook profile. If you don't know this, you can see every picture they have of you, everything, not only the things you shared, but things that they were taking out of your messenger that you didn't think they had. I downloaded all my Google profile, all of my Facebook profile, downloaded all my YouTube videos and all my content everywhere and saved it offline in case something like that happens, and started uploading it to the decentralized platforms that Dan's talking about. Again, though, I want to put sort of the focus on you guys, because back to Carrie's point, as far as independent media is only as good as what we actually live up to. You know, we are the alternative to the mainstream, but that doesn't necessarily always mean we're better. There's a lot of trash alternative media out there. And how many of you out there are guilty of sharing articles without actually reading it, just reading the headlines? Some of you, I'm sure, because it happens a lot. I have to sometimes, over the years, I've had to correct my own, followers or supporters who share things that I've written, and it's obvious they didn't actually read the article. And this happens a lot. So, you guys are a part of the problem and the solution as well. If you're out there sharing content without actually reading it, then you are a part of the spread of actual fake news. And that does give these people the justification they believe to come censor us, because they think, well, we're spreading this false propaganda, etc. I mean, obviously it's an attack on free minds, but it's also, sometimes there genuinely is fake garbage coming out of some of the alternative media. And this is why I'm trying to focus my efforts on that, on just fact-checking the things I do, trying to teach critical thinking skills to my audience, showing how I do my research and things like that. So investigate the alternatives. If you still haven't checked out Steemit or BitTube or BitChute or any of the alternatives, please do. Minds.com. Yes, right now they are sort of a circle jerk, preaching to the choir, a little bubble, but I don't want to continue to use Facebook and the ones that are sucking up all our data that studies have shown lead to depression, to envy, to insecurity, to jealousy. I mean, it's very real. It has a psychological and a spiritual effect on you. So if you're still there, you got to ask yourself why. And make this weekend be the first step you take to joining the alternatives. Otherwise, we will disappear. I mean, at least online. We'll still be out there, but you won't be able to find us.
Thank you.
On that point, knowing how to find us and us being able to connect with each of you individually is one of the things that I learned is really important in order to, as a hedge, so to speak, against this censorship. Yeah, that's one of the things I've been focusing on ever since that is actually collecting people's emails, launching, a newsletter where if something happens and we do move to these other platforms, I need to have the ability to be able to contact each and every one of the people who have subscribed to me to be able to let them know where I am. So it's really important to, in the process now, continue to collect information about the people who appreciate your work so that you can contact them on an individual level and say, hey guys, here's where I am now. So that's something that's pretty important to focus on.
Thank you.
Well, I see we've only got a couple of minutes left, and we got two more big brains up here to hear from. And I don't know what to say about the technical aspect of protecting your material, except I'm just learning about some of that, and I'm doing my best. So everybody understands that. The big weakness there is a gap between understanding the need for it and actually doing it. That's my biggest problem. But I'd like to comment very briefly on an issue that's been brought up a couple of times about the responsibility that we have to make sure that our stuff is really good stuff. There's a tendency for us to too quickly grab for something because it appears to support our point of view, and it turns out to be pure garbage, and we find out too late. And I'd like to give you just a quick example. Some years ago, I produced a documentary on the discovery of Noah's Ark, of all things. It's one of those things that intrigued me. And I really got into that topic. And in the process of researching for it, I found out that there was a story that many of you have probably heard if you've ever explored the Noah's Ark mystique. There's a story about that the Tsar, before the Bolshevik Revolution, the Tsar sent a platoon of soldiers into Turkey to see if they could find Noah's Ark up on the mountain of Ararat. And the story is that yes, they did. They found it. They took photographs of it, photographs of the interior chambers. They brought the photographs back to the Tsar. And then shortly after that, the Bolsheviks came in and killed the Tsar. And too bad, the pictures are gone now. See? And you hear that kind of a story a lot, but this was repeated so often. So I thought I'd try and run it down. And all the books on Noah's Ark tell that story, but they don't tell where the story came from. Well, I finally found the source of it. And it was a publication, came out of Los Angeles. It was a religious publication, but part of the religion was, it was a nudist colony actually, but they were very profoundly spiritual people. And the editor of this magazine told the story in one of his editorials, that he had met the widow of the woman who was the widow of the man who was the leader of the platoon, and so she knew firsthand, and so the editor met her, and that's how the story got into the mainstream. Well, I found the last existing copy of that magazine. Sure enough, there was the origin of the story, and I looked it up, and I found that the editor was still alive. So I found him, and I asked him about the story, and I didn't hear from him, and finally he wrote me a letter. I have the letter. He said, I have to admit, I made up the story. And he said, I feel terrible about it now, but I felt that if I made up that story, it would bring people to God. And there you have it. Sometimes we fall into that trap. We want to convince people of the truth of our message that either we'll make up a story or we'll embellish a story beyond limits, or we don't check it out just because we want it to be true. So I think that's something we have to be very careful about.
Thank you, Edward. Real quick, Josh, you just had 40 seconds for each of you. Or you can go ahead and go first, Carly.
Okay.
Darcy, where are you going to be? Are you aware that there's other platforms, or are you just going to go from one to another and whoever take you and then you're gone? Are you thinking of foreverisms or not?
Yeah, I'm on Minds and Steemit. They're very important alternatives. Anti-Media had actually partnered with Library, the cryptocurrency, before we were removed because we saw these things coming. So we now have a censorship-proof blockchain-based platform, which is awesome. It's just because we can't generate revenue because of the social media model, we can't really drive people to the site. So that's the issue, and that's what I grapple with, because as much as I disagree with Facebook, their status there that I would like to reach, I don't think cost-benefit analysis, it's not worth it for me to just leave. At this point, my market decision is I need to stay there. I have 100,000 something people following me there, and they're not all anarchists. I want to talk to them. I want to reach them. So eventually, I think Facebook is absolutely going to die. I think 42% of millennials deleted their Messenger app in the last year, which is awesome. I think it's really cool, and I'll go wherever the people are. But for right now, I don't have a hard and fast answer, but I'm staying. I'm not leaving. I have things to say to people I think need to hear them. So,
Josh.
Yeah, and I think
where
that,
the people are, where the people are, where the people's, where you're going to send them is where the people are.
Go everywhere. And also, I want to mention that, go back to the 1990s, collecting emails. Collecting emails is incredibly important, as Dan mentioned, but just try to be on every platform you can get to and reach as many people as you can. And my final word is that I wanted to get everyone out there because I was recently shadow banned in a video I did with Lynn Albrecht. Can everyone in this audience please go sign the Free Ross petition? That's where the solutions come from.
Thank you. We're out of time. We made it. Hopefully you got enough out of this. The censorship is not over. And we as a community have to understand that, prepare for it. We have the technology, and we got way more geeks than the bad guys. We're going to win. In the end, freedom always wins. It just gets kind of messy first.